Okay, guys, welcome to Acts 25. Paul appeals to Caesar. And we've been going through this here, and Paul has ended up by a strange set of circumstances, getting thrust into this very unique opportunity to address a lot of people all at once. And this testimony changes everything. God is using him in an amazing way. The Lord is using him in an amazing way. And we're going to see the continuance of this speech he's been giving to the very, very important people around the area. Very important people who are about to find out some very interesting things about themselves and about others and about the people of the way, because they're getting to see their greatest example of Christ working in the heart of a person, changing them from a polar opposite of a Christian into a Christian. Paul appeals to Caesar, Acts 25:1. Now when Festus had come to the province, after 3 days he went up from Caesarea to Jerusalem. Then the high priest and the chief men of the Jews informed him against Paul, and they petitioned him, asking a favor against him, that he would summon him to Jerusalem, while they lay in ambush along the road to kill him. So they're a bunch of liars and a bunch of fakers, and they're murderers. So, and these are the high priests. These are the people who have, the power in Jerusalem. So, they're trying to trick him. Verse 4, but Festus answered that Paul should be kept at Caesarea, and that he himself was going there shortly. Therefore he said, let those who have authority among you go down with me and accuse this man, to see if there is any fault in him. And when he had remained among them more than 10 days, he went down to Caesarea. And the next day, sitting on the judgment seat, he commanded Paul to be brought. When he had come, now I kind of like Festus, because he's very direct with what he says. The man knows what he wants, and that's how it is. I like that, and he's getting right up in the people's face on these things. So I like that about him. It's a good quality. So he commanded Paul to be brought. Verse 7. When he had come, the Jews who had come down from Jerusalem stood about and laid many serious complaints against Paul, which they could not prove. Now here's something interesting about this, is they probably embellished a bunch of this stuff, or even added to what was originally spoken to the other guy. But they probably didn't realize that there are chroniclers that wrote that stuff down, and Festus has probably already seen it. So Festus is actually pulling a rope-a-dope on him, because he's getting them to come in there. They're trying to lay even more because it didn't work last time, and he's probably already read the other stuff and was like, well, that's not what they said before. So they're going to end up diming themselves out here on this. They're going to expose themselves for what their real intentions are. Festus, hopefully he's smart enough to catch this. Verse 8, while he answered for himself, neither against the law of the Jews, nor against the temple, nor against Caesar have I offended in anything at all. But Festus, wanting to do the Jews a favor, answered Paul and said, are you willing to go up to Jerusalem and there be judged before me concerning these things? Watch this. So Paul said, I stand at Caesar's judgment seat, where I ought to be judged. To the Jews I have done no wrong, as you very well know. Paul knows Festus has seen those writings. Paul knows Festus knows the truth. Festus tried to pull a trick. Very, very cool how he did it. He's slick. So do you want to go up there? Are you willing to go up there and be judged? So he's trying to see if Paul is confident and knows what he's talking about. So Paul caught it. And Paul's like, Festus, you know the truth. You know what's happened. You've seen all that. They wrote everything down back then. Verse 11, for if I am an offender, or have committed anything deserving of death, I do not object to dying. But if there is nothing in these things of which these men accuse me, no one can deliver me to them. I appeal to Caesar. Paul is smarter. It's amazing. Paul is super smart. I appeal to Caesar. Take me the other direction. Paul knows, probably because the Lord's telling him, they're waiting to kill you along the way, and they will do it. Verse 12. Then Festus, when he had conferred with the council, the people who have these writings of what happened before, answered, you have appealed to Caesar? To Caesar you shall go. So Festus knew what had happened before. And he knew, come in here, they probably embellished a whole bunch of stuff or even added things to it. So he knew that they were lying. Paul, do you know what these things are? Without asking him, do you know what's going on here? Are you willing to go back there and be judged? No, I'm not. I have done them no wrong. I want to go and be judged by Caesar because I'm a Roman citizen. That's where I deserve to be judged. Look at the open door that has happened, and Paul realized it, and Paul is using it. And Festus, pretty smart guy, he's on point with him. Okay, you're going to go up and you're going to see Caesar then. No problem. Verse 13, and after some days, King Agrippa and Bernice came to Caesarea to greet Festus. When they had been there many days, Festus laid Paul's case before the king, saying, there is a certain man left a prisoner by Felix, about whom the chief priests and the elders of the Jews informed me when I was in Jerusalem, asking for a judgment against him. To them I answered, it is not the custom of the Romans to deliver any man to destruction before the accused meets the accusers face to face and has opportunity to answer for himself concerning the charge against him. Now keep in mind, this is a Roman citizen. They know this. Felix found out the hard way. So they're like, okay, we can't just take one of our citizens down here. This is against all our laws and statutes. This is a pretty serious issue we have to fight here. So Paul is in stasis. He's caught between the crossfire of multiple different people. But the Romans are actually trying to help him out a little bit here, without them realizing it. Verse 17, therefore, when they had come together, without any delay, the next day, I sat on the judgment seat and commanded the man to be brought in. When the accusers stood up, they brought no accusations against him of such things as I supposed. Remember, he read the writings. It's not written, but if you understand how they did things back then, they logged everything. He read that. He understood what had been done before, yet he was like, okay, that's what they're going to say. They gave him different information. Verse 19, but had some questions against him about their own religion and about a certain Jesus who had died, whom Paul affirmed to be alive. Verse 20, and because I was uncertain of such questions, I asked whether he was willing to go to Jerusalem and there be judged concerning these matters. But when Paul appealed to be reserved for the decision of Augustus, I commanded him to be kept till I could send him to Caesar. Then Agrippa said to Festus, I also would like to hear the man myself. Tomorrow, he said, you shall hear him. So the next day, when Agrippa and Bernice had come with great pomp and had entered the auditorium with the commanders and the prominent men of the city, at Festus' command, Paul was brought in. And Festus said, King Agrippa, and all the men who are here present with us, you see this man, about whom the whole assembly of the Jews petitioned me, both at Jerusalem and here, crying out that he was not fit to live any longer? If you go read the writings of Josephus, which you can buy a book with him, well, most of them, not all of them. In those writings, Josephus was there when this happened, and he logged this down. And he describes what Paul looked like. Now, whether it's accurate or not, I don't know. But you can read somebody else's account outside of Christianity about this event. Verse 25. But when I found that he had committed nothing deserving of death, and that he himself had appealed to Augustus, I decided to send him. I have nothing certain to write to my Lord concerning him before I have brought him out before you, or therefore I have brought him out before you, and especially before you, King Agrippa, so that after the examination has taken place, I may have something to write. For it seems to me unreasonable to send a prisoner and not to specify the charges against him. So right now, though the Jews are doing everything they can to try to get Paul killed, they have no authority because Rome is running the show. The problem is, Paul being a Roman citizen, they can't just arbitrarily touch him. And in a way, they already have violated their own law concerning this, and they don't want it to become an issue. Paul knows this. That's why he dimed himself out or exposed himself as who he really was. Now, these people here are like, okay, well, listen, here's what our law says, but I'm not finding any connection here with this man. But the Jews are very upset about this, and we don't want them to, start having problems. Now, keep in mind, this is creeping up on 70 AD. There was a great problem in 70 AD, and a lot of what's happening right now, led to that. So these guys here, these leaders are like, okay, well, let me hear this. Let me see this guy and hear what he has to say, because Paul's story is very interesting, and many people have heard some things about it. They all knew about Jesus. All the people knew about Jesus. So they're like, okay, I want to understand more about this. I want to see this. Look at the way that the Lord has opened these massive doors to these very... Normally, Paul would have never made it to stand before these people. But now look. And the Lord is going to take him to Rome, just like he said. But he's going to Rome, and he's going to touch a bunch of people along the way. Beautiful the way the Lord puts these things together. And Paul knows this, and Paul is reacting properly. He's not speaking when it's not time to speak, and he's speaking when it is time to speak. He knows the Roman law, he knows the Jewish law. The man is very well learned, and he is using that knowledge and understanding to get him into places he would have never gotten into, and is able to share the gospel in each of these instances. And it is gorgeous. It is beautiful. It is amazing to watch God work. You see this happening here, you can look at your own world and you can see, I see God working here too the same way. That's amazing. This trip that I just took, I wouldn't have normally done that. These trips are very painful, and it's still painful. I'm still hurting. But I understood that I needed to go. See, my daughter originally said, no, I'll be good. I said, I'm just putting the offer out there. I'm happy to go with you. I have nothing to do, so I'm happy to go with you. So you have a co-pilot. No. But then my wife, the Lord put it on my wife's heart to push the issue. No, you're going. Okay. I recognized what was happening. I just kept my mouth shut. Yeah, I'm cool. Let's go. And we did. And it was a perfect opportunity, an open door. And the weather was clear. We didn't have to focus on that, so we could focus on communicating. I saw the Lord working. It was so obvious he was working. See that happening here with Paul. God still works in the lives of his children, in the lives of his people. We're not done with this, though. We're going to see more. In Acts 26, Paul starts to tell his story, or they are all starting to talk about Paul, and they're telling the story. So they're going to learn a whole lot about Paul, and it's going to make a difference. Because whatever he's saying to these guys is going to get spread to everybody they know. There's a lot of people right now listening to what's going on. This is such a perfect opportunity for Paul, a man so totally against the church, brought into the church. Being a man of known, very well known, very well learned, becoming part of this religion that everybody thought was nothing. And he gets to tell everybody about it, how his life was changed and how it made him. And you're going to see he's going to give the gospel, but his testimony with the gospel makes a perfect statement. And people are going to get changed because of it. Can't help it. So guys, that was Acts 25. We're still going through this speech. Paul is still getting his opportunity. And boy, he is going to make some tidal waves. And it's amazing to watch, because we can see that those tidal waves still rippling today in society, just from this event right here. And you'll see that in the following chapters. All right, guys, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.